Before I start my pre-flight, I want to show you the flow pattern I'm gonna follow to complete this task or setup. I will start first with the overhead panel from the left and aft area, moving down toward the end of the forward area. Then continuing in the same manner by moving toward the right direction all the way to the end. Since the engine fire protection panel is not modeled with Qualitywings products, I have to dismiss this panel during my pre-flight. After I finish with the overhead panel, I move down to complete the MCP panel, starting from left to the right, then moving down to the main panel, starting from the left to the right, ending this flow with TRP panel. Then moving down to the FMS, control stand, and radio panel, and this complete the pre-flight flow pattern. Turn the avionics switches all to on. For the flight computer guidance selector, you can select number 2 if you are flying as a first officer. Since I'm flying as a captain, I will select number 1. Anti-skid and lift spoilers switch to on, and brake fans switch set to auto. We check both hydraulic quantities and we make sure they're not below the service level. Now we check the AC pump to ensure that both the auto and on selections are working properly. First, we select the auto. As the pressure starts rising, we turn the switch to on and watch for the indicator continuing rising to nominal pressure. And also we check the power transfer unit by switching the PTU switch to on. The pressure indicator should rise to 2600 psi, and this complete the AC pump and PTU check. Finally, we turn off both PTU and AC pump to off. Feeder tanks fuel quantity check, crossfeed shut, center tank transfer auto, right and left standby pumps normal, common feed valves set to shut. All the fuel pumps off except the left inner pump which is feeding the APU right now. All switch in engines panel set to off. Set landing altitude for pressurization. To defog the windshield windows, turn on both the screen heat switches to on. All the ice protection switches set to off. Set the lights as desired. No smoking set to on. Nav on. Flight deck and cabin temperature controllers set to auto. And turn on the flight deck and cabin fans if desired. Ram air shut. Packs on. Cabin air set as desired. APU air on. Engine air switches off. After a completion of the overhead panel, we move down to set up the mode control panel starting from the left. Flight director select to on. MA or master light comes on. Auto throttle switch to arm. Green light comes on. V2 138 is set in the IS Mac window. Now we need to set our initial departure heading using the first page of my route on the CDU. My departure heading is 057. Heading set to 057. Now we set our cruise altitude to 18,000 feet. And this complete the MCP panel. Moving down to the main panel and starting from the clock and check if the time is correct. Moving to PFD, we check the correct setup starting from V1 134, V2 138, auto throttle takeoff max armed, and finally FD on takeoff mode. We set our altimeter. Now we need to set our navigation display properly using the FS panel. Select the navigation mode to LNAV Format selector to map, adjust the range as desired. Finally, select your preferred data to be displayed. I prefer ETA or estimated time of arrival. Now the navigation display is set to LNAV1 source or mode. Our initial distance and heading are shown on the left upper corner of the ND. 0.5 nautical mile with 0.57 degrees track. Our selected heading 057 and ETA selected data are also shown on our navigation display. Now with the annunciator test button, we push in to check if there is no missing light. We check our oil quantity to be above the minimum servicing level. Then moving down to N1 takeoff limit to check if it is correct. We check our loaded total fuel and compare this with our trip planned fuel. Now I need to select my takeoff thrust limit, and we have only two options: maximum takeoff or reduced takeoff. In this flight I'll select maximum for my takeoff thrust. Then moving down to the pressurization window, and we check if our landing altitude is set correctly. At this point I'm done with the main panel. Let's now step to the FMC. Flight plan is complete. Performance initialization page is complete, and we can have a look at our VNAV pages, starting with climb page. Cruising altitude 18,000 feet, climb speed 240.62 Mach. Now for the cruise page, our target speed is 260 knots, 0.70 Mach. And finally, descent page, end of descent is 118 feet, descent target speed is 220.60 Mach. FS control panel set, spoilers lever in, flaps up, thrust levers fuel off, rudder trim position centered, elevator trim set to the green band, aileron trim position centered, park brake set to park, set the desired radio frequencies, transponder set to standby, and we can test our brake temperature lights, and they're all working properly. Set the ADF frequency as desired, and this completes the pre-flight flow. From startup to shutdown, YouTube channel provides you the best tutorials on how to operate airplanes on flight simulator game. If you like this video, subscribe and share to support this channel.